Trump's team plans to hit the ground running on day one when he becomes the nation's 45th president. So what does Trump need to do in the next 56 days before Inauguration Day? Let's discuss with CNN political commentator Ana Navarro, CNN political commentator and host of BET News Mark Lamont Hill, and CNN political commentator and talk radio host John Phillips, who is a Donald Trump supporter. So John Phillips, we chatted yesterday. Hope you enjoyed your turkey and your Bloody Marys, but let's get down to business now. What do you think, looking over the course of the next 56 days, what is the biggest next decision for the president-elect?
Well, I think it's really a three-part decision. I think he needs to lay low. It's the holidays, so stay out of the news cycle as much as possible. Keep appointing competent people to fill his open cabinet slots. And if the situation were to arise, talk Mike Pence out of seeing an American in Paris.
What?
All right. Well done, John Phillips. I was waiting to see what number 3 is right there. Ana Navarro, what do you make of at least numbers 1 and 2? From John right there. Lay low. I mean, I don't think Donald Trump will ever lay low, except for the fact that in a way, he's not doing press conferences, he's not making public appearances, so he's decided that that's going to be part of his transition, at least the beginning. In terms of hiring competent people, Anna, as you look at the people lined up so far, what's your opinion of the transition?
Look, I think he's done more in the last 2 days to appease nerves than he has in the last 2 years, frankly. What we saw in the last 2 days was that he appointed 2 very skilled, very qualified women to fill important jobs. Nikki Haley to UN Ambassador, Betsy DeVos as Secretary of Education. You may disagree with them on ideology, but it is hard to find a character issue to go after these women on. These are the first appointments he makes where you don't want to run into the kitchen, grab a necklace of garlic, put it around your neck to ward these people off. These are not scary people. He's done a good job in the last 2 appointments. Also, he has laid low. He has not been tweeting against the New York Times. He has not been tweeting against Hamilton. He has not been tweeting about, stupid, petty, vindictive type of things for the last 2 days. I think that's a good thing. And yes, he needs to keep appointing good people, good qualified people. He needs to, take that little twitchy finger of his and lay low with it, put the Twitter away and be presidential. I think he also, on Thanksgiving, we saw him release a unity video. We saw him release a Thanksgiving message calling for the country's unity. That he needs to do over and over and over and over again, because he unleashed a lot of this unity, anger, hostility, division, racial divide, which he now needs to do everything he can to help put back together and make better.
All right, twitchy Twitter fingers aside, Mark Lamont Hill, what about, I know you're a Jill Stein guy, but do you think the fact that,
lost in a nail biter.
Yeah, sorry about that. Though there could be a recount happening, but stay tuned. Do you think, though, that the fact that the Trump folks are considering not necessarily never Trumpers, but the likes of a Governor Haley, no love lost there initially, or even a Mitt Romney in his whole eviscerating, Trump, you're a coward speech back in March in Utah, do you think that that will maybe allay some concerns from the left?
It won't allay concerns from the left. There are people who thought the sky was falling when Donald Trump was elected. And I've always been of the opinion that Donald Trump was sort of just playing to the cheap seats, playing to the white working class, playing to the racist sector of America, that he was going to be a certain kind of president, and that he was going to come in and be a far more ordinary Republican. Now, for me, obviously, an ordinary Republican is not a good thing, but he's done pretty much what I thought he would do. I agree with Anna. There are no character issues with the last 2 appointments. I disagree with them ideologically, obviously, but they're not character issues. I think it's somewhat frustrating, by the way, that Donald Trump has been unavailable to the press largely for the last couple of weeks. We couldn't get rid of the guy for 2 years. And now that he actually could answer questions and address issues, we can't find him. I find that somewhat troublesome.
Well, he made a lot of news at the New York Times after that back and forth, sitting around that table over there.
Absolutely. But I think the press has some very specific and direct questions around policy now and around these appointments that I'd love for him to answer. And I'd also love for him to go to security briefings so that we could actually find out what's going on, or so he could find out, rather, what's going on. I think all of those things would make people feel better whether you're on the left or whether you're on the right, you want a president who's competent and who has information. And Anna's right, by the way. The fact that he hasn't been on Twitter for a few days is somewhat reassuring, but it's also kind of scary that the bar is so low that we're like congratulating the president for not getting into a Twitter war for 2 days like he's a petulant 7-year-old. You know, it's a really low bar Donald Trump has set. He's got a lot of work to do to fix it.
Baby steps, Mark. Baby steps, baby steps.
John Phillips.
Fair enough.
John Phillips, what about the perceived conflicts of interest? Because in that one interview he did with the New York Times, that hour-long thing, one thing was clear, which is that it's not clear that he's going to do much to separate himself from his business interests. I mean, do you think he needs to draw a bright, big, bold line?
Well, we still have almost 2 months before he puts his hand on the Bible, so I'm not worried about that.
But John,
At a certain point, he's going to decide.
I will say it's already too late in some cases, right? I mean, he's already the president-elect, and already there have been conflicts of interest and questions raised with his daughter in meetings with the Japanese prime minister, saying his son-in-law is going to negotiate Mideast peace. We learned Don Jr. went to Paris and had meetings with Syrian dissident groups. I mean, there are lines that have been crossed already.
Well, as of now, he's not in charge of the government. He's still the president-elect, and he still has 2 months to go to decide who's going to do what in terms of the cabinet. When you're talking about the government, you're talking about the White House, and also his business. This happens all the time at the state and local level. Businessmen get elected to become big city mayors. They get elected to become governors. They take care of it. It's always something that their opponents use against them in the primary, sometimes even during the time in between when they're elected and when they take office, but it always gets worked out.
I'm glad you have confidence.
John and Mark and Anna Navarro, who I thought you were supposed to be at the beach in Nicaragua right now, but instead we appreciate you being on with us.
Yeah, but instead there was a hurricane that hit there and now an earthquake, so I'm glad I'm sitting here in Miami talking to you.
I'm glad you're with us. Thank you all very,
and you know what, Brooke, darling, forget Black Friday. Let's do Brunch Friday.
I'm in, Anna. I'll see you in New York soon. Thank you.